What is the defining feature of an entitled parent? Is it their desire to always take what's theirs and then lie about it, using their children as an excuse? Well, just wait until you hear about this entitled mother who tried to bully a college student who was just trying to be generous to others. Her job is to dress up as a princess for children's parties, but an unexpected surprise awaits her at this particular girl's birthday party. Who is responsible? You guessed it, an entitled parent. For our fan-submitted story, at this daycare, kids love to play and don't mind getting a bit messy while doing it. But this entitled mother is determined that everyone has to stop having fun just for her. What crazy demands does she make of the daycare staff? You'll only find out by watching this episode of VoiceyHere's Entitled Parents. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode, and let's get straight into it. This story was called The Plush Is Rightly Ours. Some background. I'm a male college student, about 6 feet tall. This happened a few weeks ago. So, you know those claw machines they have at the front of Walmarts? Well, I am apparently really good at them. A lot of times I will play them just for fun, and I usually give the prizes I win to random kids, with parents' permission of course. So, one day I went and got a couple of things from Walmart. I passed by the machine and saw there was a bunny plush just sitting on top. A perfect target. I had a few ones and decided to try. I won with my last dollar. With the prize, I wait for someone to give it to. Then comes in this entitled mum and her 2 kids, both about 7 years old. The 2 kids glance over at me and their eyes light up.
Bunny, it's a bunny. I want it. Can I have it, mommy? I want it too.
Seemingly calm, the woman walks up to me and says, "Hand that over." She doesn't ask, she orders me to hand it over. Now, normally I would just do so, but this woman had 2 kids and I had 1 plush. This was a case where I wouldn't give it to kids. 1, if the parent gives it to 1 kid, the other wouldn't feel as loved. And 2, kids had a tendency to fight over toys that they had to share, oftentimes with plushies. Plus, I didn't like the attitude the woman approached me with, so I bluntly said, "No." Then the woman's expression turned dark. "Why not?" "I don't like giving 1 plush to 2 kids." "Well, why don't you just get another one? That way they each get 1. "Sorry, but I'm out of ones. Plus there really isn't anything else I can win at this. If prizes were wedged, I couldn't get them." "Well, go get some more ones." "I'm not doing that." "Then just give me that one." "I already told you no." "Give it." Now she's trying to swipe it from my hands. But since I'm tall, I pull the old bully trick of holding it to where she can't reach it. Then she tries pulling me down so she can grab it. But I throw it on top of the machine where she still can't reach it. As she tries to reach for it, the woman starts making noise. The kids are also getting upset, realizing that they may not get the plush. With all the noise, we attracted the security person at the front. "What's going on here?" The woman freezes for a moment, turns to the security person and says, "This man just stole my kid's toy and threw it up on the machine." I jump to defend myself. "What? No, I didn't." She interrupts. "He's lying! Look! My kids are still crying!" The kids apparently get the hint and start crying more. Now, I do look very suspicious. It was winter and I was wearing a thick jacket with gloves and a hat, all black. So it didn't look good for me. The security person comes up and says, "Sir, return their toy and get out of the store." The woman had a very smug look on her face. I thought it was over for me. Luckily, there was another worker over by the shopping carts who came up. "Hold on, I saw the whole thing. This woman tried to take the toy the boy won from the machine. He just threw it up there to keep her from stealing it." Then she exploded. "No, you're lying too. That toy is ours." Security, wanting none of this, walks up to her. "Ma'am, exit the store before I call the police." In a huff, the woman walks out of the store with her kids who look really upset. Minutes later, I gave the plush to a girl about 5. Both her and her father were really polite. I wish this was the end of it, but oh no, it isn't. I'm just about to leave when I hear something outside. "Hey, how did you get that?" "A young man in the store gave it to us." "He gave it to you? My kids deserve it much more than yours does." At this point, I can tell it's the entitled mum talking to the good dad I gave the prize to.
Well, he gave it to us, and my daughter really likes it.
She doesn't deserve it. My kids are geniuses. Yours probably can't even count, so it's rightly ours. I'm about to go outside to try and resolve the conflict, but then I see the dad in front of his kid in the cart, blocking the mum.
Listen, I don't care how good your kids are, but the moment you talk bad about mine, you should just walk away. I'm not letting you get close to her.
The entitled mum, in another rage, stomps off with her kids. I'm glad I made the right choice. An entitled parent's logic. My kids can count, yours can't. Therefore, they deserve toys that they didn't earn. The logic is flawless. See, that's the thing about generosity and grace that they'll never understand, is that you're being given something that you don't deserve. They always have to make up some weird, bizarre reason why their kids deserve stuff. And he would have been happy to give it to your kids even if they didn't deserve it. The problem was he didn't want to cause unnecessary conflict. He used wisdom and discernment, two tools that the entitled parent is not equipped with. This story was called Hospital Thief. When my youngest son was little, he spent a lot of time in hospitals. Too much. When he was going through any type of painful procedure, he had a dancing clown that played soft music that he concentrated on to help stop the panic and help with the pain. It was a very adorable clown. When he was 6 years old, he had to have a major surgery. Life or death type of surgery. He was so sick. Of course, the clown was with us. With my son being in pain, I had that clown going 24/7. The child in the room next to us was, as I found out later, going through chemo. Unfortunately, she wasn't handling it well physically. She would cry all night long. Poor baby. Around 11 p.m. on our third night, my son woke up to the little girl's cries. I go to start the clown and he stops me. He asked me to give his clown to the baby crying. Since my son was drugged up, I asked him if he was sure as he was going to need it. He told me that she needed it more than him because she can't stop crying. Yeah, that was a proud mama moment. So I go to the next room with the clown and peek in to see if anyone is awake. Both the mother and the child are. I knocked, explained why I was intruding, started up the clown and handed him over. Like me, the mother kept that clown going almost continuously. 2 days later, the mother stopped by our room and asked if she could use the clown again. We didn't have it. I went up to the nurse's station, explained that the clown was given to the little girl and was now gone. I wanted it found now. 5 days without much sleep made me a bit cranky. It was found, fortunately, and given back to the little girl. One of the nurse's aides had taken it to her child because, well, that girl wasn't going to need it much longer and my daughter likes clowns. I don't know if she got fired, but I didn't see her again. Why do I get the unfortunate feeling that that's a common occurrence in hospitals? Not necessarily stealing toy clowns, but because it's such a high-stress environment, well, your coworkers aren't always the friendliest of people. That's not my personal experience, it's just the stories I've been told, so I don't want to pass judgment on all workplaces like this. So if you've worked in a similar work environment with people like this, let me know in the comments below. This fan-submitted story was called "A Mother Decides That Our Nursery's Activities Should Revolve Around Her." I used to work in a nursery where we had a lot of entitled parents. One entitled mum brought her child in, dressed in a stunning new outfit and said,
I don't want her to do anything messy because these are brand new clothes.
The child was 2 and loved water, sand and paint. I didn't think it was fair to tell her that she couldn't do an activity because the entitled mum wanted to play dollies with her that day. So I helped her out of her clothes and dressed her in some spare loose joggers and a t-shirt and tied her hair back. She enjoyed an afternoon of unrestricted play. When the entitled mother came back, I explained that I had changed her clothes so that she could still join in with the other kids, and that I would get her dressed again before they left. Seeing that she had a tiny piece of Play-Doh stuck in her hair and a smear of blue paint on her arm, she was annoyed that I had gone against her wishes not to let her play with messy things. She said it wasn't just the clothes, it was the fact that they were going somewhere straight after nursery. I apologized and said that I didn't know that, even though it would take under 5 minutes to clean her up. but said that I didn't want her to miss out on the activities that the other children were doing that day, so putting some scruffy clothes on seemed like what was best in the child's interest. She told me that I should have cancelled and put away all the messy play activities for that day as soon as she told me that she didn't want her child getting messy. Then that way her child wouldn't be left out. She looked at me and shrugged as if to say, "It doesn't take a genius." Since I was working off my notice and the other workers were out of earshot, I decided to lose the politeness. I said, "So, what if another child comes in tomorrow and his mother says she doesn't want him getting dirty? Do we put away all the messy activities again?" She looked startled, and I don't know if that was because of my tone or at the realization that hers wasn't the only child in the setting. I reminded her that the nursery setting is an opportunity for children to play in all areas and that staff and parents had an obligation to allow them that space to do so. However, being an entitled mum, she wasn't interested in my point or that her child was glowing with happiness. She just felt annoyed that she'd been disobeyed. I think it irritated me more than usual because the mother wasn't even paying for this childcare, but received it for free due to low income. I probably sound like a jerk for bringing that up, but because it's classed as a legal entitlement, I think it contributed to her general sense of entitlement. Anyway, entitled mum continues to bring her child to the nursery with weekly orders for the staff, so I was glad when I finally left that place. What a lot of people don't seem to realize about early years institutions in the UK is that they're not centered around customer service. They're child-centered. We'll often go more than halfway to satisfy the parents. But early years has a responsibility to ensure that children are developing their learning by having access to as many materials as possible. Access to water, paint, sand, and malleables are actually in the organization's policy, but you'd be surprised how many parents only want their children to play with blocks and teddy bears and miss out on all these things for the sake of some extra washing. Considering people are being forced to pay for her childcare, you think she would show some gratitude, but that's just not in the nature of an entitled parent. If they're gonna go after legal entitlements, you can be sure that they're gonna feel like the whole place needs to revolve around them. The sad thing is, her child was having fun. She didn't even care about that. She just cared about herself and not having to bother with doing any extra washing. I still think my theory holds up that entitled parents would have been entitled even without the child. They just use it as an excuse. This story was called Entitled Mum Thinks That Since Her Child is a Boy, He Deserves My Wireless Earbuds. So the story starts off when I was waiting in a store near the changing rooms because I was with my friend and she was trying on clothing. I had my earbuds in my ears and was sitting on a bench, scrolling through songs. A woman and her son were looking through clothes and her son walked over. He was about 8 or 9. Hi. Looking up and smiling, I say, "Hello. Do you need help with something?"
Kinda. Where did you get those earbuds?
"Oh, I got them for Christmas. My parents say they got them from a mobile or phone store. I'm not sure which one."
Thank you.
He walked back over to his mum and I heard him say,
Mommy, can I get the earbuds that nice lady has over there?
The mum looked over and saw me and I gave her a smile before she walked over.
My son wants those earbuds.
I was shocked. I thought she was going to ask where I got them. "I'm sorry, this is the first pair of wireless earbuds I've ever had, and I don't want to give them up."
That's not what I meant. You're a girl.
"So are you?" The entitled mum is quiet for a moment, glaring at me.
I am a working woman. I make money and so will my son. You are just a lazy teenager who won't do anything.
I was shocked. The mother reached out and plucked the earbuds from my ears, and I was furious. "Give those back!" I stood up and reached out, trying to grab her hand.
Mommy, can I try the earbuds?
His mum gave him the sweetest smile and I was surprised. I thought he was on my side. He took the earbuds and handed them back to me, and I grinned, giving him a nod of thanks.
Give those back.
This is when my friend left the dressing room, seeing this woman yelling at me. The entitled mother just thought she found someone she could trick.
Oh, young lady, this girl just stole my earbuds.
My friend looked at her and gave me an amused smile, knowing I always got myself into trouble.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I know for a fact that these are hers. I'm her friend after all.
The entitled mother's smile dropped, and she booked it for the exit. But she forgot about the stuff she had and she tripped the alarm, employees running after her. This story was called I Want My Money Back Because I Hired a Fat Princess. Way back when, 2009, I worked for a party character company. I was hired by an entitled mum who specifically wanted Little Mermaid for her daughter's birthday. They were to have 15 kids and wanted me to do face painting and gifts. Half payment was given to hold the date, and the remaining fee was to be paid the day of the event as stated in the contract. Before the agreement was signed, I confirmed with her 2 times that she was having 15 kids only, as well as reminding her any additional children would be $5 per child. Keep this in mind for later. 1 week before the party, entitled mother called me a total of 4 times because she began nitpicking on what specifically was agreed to on the contract. I reminded her of the copy she had in her email and the details we set for the party. Fast forward to the day of the party. The party wasn't supposed to start till 4 p.m. I arrive a half hour beforehand to get dressed and set up for the kids. The entitled mother gave me and my assistant a look up and down with a look of disappointment on her face. Here's where it begins.
You're the Ariel that I hired?
Yes, ma'am. I came early to set up and get ready.
I thought you would come already dressed. The kids are already here.
I looked at her, confused. You stated on the contract the party was for 4 p.m. She rolls her eyes.
Well, it's too late now. I want you to start in 15 minutes.
She yells for her husband.
Take these 2 to the garage so she can change.
The entitled mother turns around and walks away, while her husband was thankfully understanding and helped accommodate us while I got into the dress and set up. Once decked out in dress and wig, I get ready and go inside. I am about to sit down to greet the kids after their meal in the other room, when suddenly, 40 walk into the room. The entitled mother looks at me with the same disappointed look and arms folded. While I admit I wasn't prepared for this many children, I was grateful I always carry spare gifts and such in my car. My assistant, who was there to help with games and face painting, took a few photos as a client record. Not to be published, but the entitled mom demanded him to erase them because she didn't want her kids on social websites. To which he explained it was for company records and it wouldn't be on any websites unless she signed a photo agreement, which she didn't. The entitled mom stormed off to busy herself with something. The party went off without a hitch, but we ended up going an extra half hour due to the mother wanting us to stay longer. When it came time for payment, the mother left it to her husband, who came over to pay us. I brought out the contract to show him what she signed and what was due, especially now since we suddenly had an extra 25 kids unexpectedly. The father looked over the contract and agreed, and gave us the correct payment, along with a tip which was appreciated. The next day, I'm at the company in a meeting with my boss as we go through the prior events of that day, because he received a phone call from the mother stating,
I want my money back. Your Ariel character was horrible. She didn't do anything at all. The kids had a horrible time and hated her. And she demanded extra payment for the extra hour and kids too, which I already paid for. My husband didn't have to pay for that.
4 years up until now, I never had an issue or odd complaint. I showed my boss the contract she signed and explained to him what happened with the 25 extra children, and the fact that I had 15 minutes to get ready because of the time screw up, and stay a half hour extra. I also brought up the photos to show how horrible of a time those children had, laughing and playing and dancing along with me. My boss called the entitled mum back while I was there. He explains to her what she agreed to on the contract, to which now the entitled mum loses her freaking mind. She's yelling at the top of her lungs.
I can't believe I paid for that crappy character. She didn't even have real red hair. The dress color was wrong and she's too fat to be Ariel, or any crappy princess.
Side note, I'm a size 8 and I wore a 15-pound fluffy green dress with petticoats for that princess look.
Who hires fat princesses? If I'd known about her ugly looks, I would have gone with a better company.
Mind you, she hired us from the website, which I'm dressed as Ariel in. Literal face photo and all. My boss is staring at me, trying to maintain his composure. Ma'am, I'm sorry you feel that way. However, from the photos I am currently looking at, it shows the kids were, in fact, having a wonderful time. Also, 40 kids is quite a lot. You agreed to 15, and she confirmed with you 2 times. but instead you brought a total of 40 kids and did not expect to pay for them. I'm sorry ma'am, but unfortunately, we won't be giving any money back as the evidence and our actress were correct. You agreed to the contract and it was paid in full. Take care and have a great day." He said this just before the entitled mother belted out loudly,
Screw you and screw that piece of crap excuse of a fat girl. Never again.
My boss promptly hung up the phone and then contacted the two sister companies to be aware of the entitled mother. This is why in a free and civil society, contracts are so important. It helps clarify the terms and conditions that two parties both consent to. For entitled parents and entitled people in general, they hate agreements based on consent because they want to do everything in their power to steal property that belongs to you or withhold property that's rightfully yours based on a voluntary agreement. Consent is the foundation of a free and peaceful society. And I think these selfish entitled people who project and blame everyone else as greedy, they're probably the biggest threat to that foundation. So watch out for them and stand up for yourself. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.